You can feel this in your own life right now. There is something you want, something real, something close enough to taste. And yet, the harder you reach for it, the more it seems to slip away. That is the trap. And most people never see it. They think more effort means more power, more focus, more checking, more trying. But what if the thing delaying your desire is not your doubt alone, not the world, not timing, but the pressure of your own grip? Stay with me, because this changes everything. In the next few minutes, you are going to see the difference between holding your desire with faith and choking it with fear. Those two can look almost the same from the outside, but inside they are completely different states. One opens the path, the other keeps the door shut. This is the strange secret so many people miss. You do not have to stop wanting what you want. You do not have to act cold. You do not have to pretend it no longer matters. You do not have to give up. What you do have to release is the panic, the forcing, the constant need to make something happen right now. And once you see that clearly, really clearly, your whole inner world begins to soften. Things stop feeling like a chase, they start feeling like a return. So listen closely, because if you understand this deeply, you will never confuse surrender with loss again, and that alone can change the way your desire moves into your life. One of the biggest misunderstandings in manifestation is this idea that letting go means you must stop caring. People hear the words let go, detach, surrender, and instantly translate them into something painful. They hear stop wanting, stop hoping, stop loving it, stop believing it matters, and that is why they resist the message, because deep down they know giving up is not the answer. They have invested too much heart, too much prayer, too much inner work to just throw the desire away and call that wisdom. But that is not what real release means. Letting go is not quitting. Detachment is not emotional numbness. Surrender is not defeat. Do not miss this part. The difference is everything. Giving up says, I wanted this, but I guess it is not for me. Letting go says, I still know this is mine, but I no longer need to strangle the process. Giving up collapses back into lack. Letting go rests in trust. One says the door is closed. The other says the door is already open, so I can stop kicking it. This is why so many sincere people stay exhausted. They keep trying to force calm while secretly trembling underneath. They try to look detached while actually feeling abandoned. They call it faith, but it is tight, restless, and full of hidden fear. Real release feels different. It is warm, it is steady, it is alive. The desire is still there, it still matters, but it is no longer an emergency. That is the shift. That is where the power begins. Now think about what it feels like when you are holding on too tightly. Most people know this state very well. You want something, and because you want it so badly, your whole mind starts circling around it. You wake up and your first thought is already there. Is it here yet? Has something changed? Did I miss a sign? Then the day begins and the check-in begins with it. You scan messages, you replay conversations, you read into little details, you study the outside world as if every glance, every delay, every small event contains a secret answer about whether your desire is getting closer or moving away. When something looks promising, you feel a rush. When something looks opposite, your stomach drops. Then the questions come again. Am I doing it right? Do I need a new technique? Well, should I imagine more? Should I stop? Should I push harder? Should I relax more? And slowly the desire stops feeling like a beautiful possibility and starts feeling like an open wound. You keep touching it. You keep checking it. You keep trying to make sure it is still alive. But this is exactly the problem. That desperate grip comes from the state of not having. It is the emotional behavior of absence, and life responds not to your pretty words, but to your deeper state. If your inner atmosphere says it is not here, it is still missing, I need proof, then that is the note that keeps playing. This is why force backfires. This is why strain delays. It is not because desire is wrong. It is because panic speaks louder than your affirmations. Picture sand in your hand. If you clench your fist hard, the sand slips through your fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the less you hold. But if you open your hand, if you relax the grip, the sand can rest there quietly. Same hand, same sand. Different state, that is the paradox. Holding too tightly pushes the desire away. Releasing the pressure allows it to settle. But before we go deeper, we have to make one thing painfully clear. Giving up is not the same as letting go. Giving up means you return to the old story. You accept that the desire is out of reach. You decide maybe this never happens for you. Maybe it works for others, just not for you. Maybe this dream was too much, too late, too unrealistic. Giving up has a cold feeling to it. The desire starts to fade, not because it is fulfilled, but because your hope has been worn down. That is resignation. That is not peace. That is not wisdom. That is the old lack dressed up as acceptance. Real letting go is something else entirely. It says, I am not dropping the desire. I am dropping the fear around the desire. I am not walking away from the end. I am walking away from the obsession with the root. I am not abandoning what I want. I am abandoning the inner struggle that keeps telling me it is not done. That is a huge difference. One kills the fire, the other removes the smoke. One leaves you empty, the other leaves you clear. And if you can feel that difference inside yourself, even for a moment, you are already starting to understand the deeper practice. So what exactly are you releasing when you truly let go? First, you release the how. This catches so many people. They say they trust the end, but secretly they are attached to one exact path. The money must arrive through this job, this deal, this person, this timing. The message must come in this exact way. The healing must happen through this one route. The opportunity must unfold in the form their mind already designed. And without noticing, they stop living in trust and start living in control. They are no longer assuming the end. They are managing the middle. But your mind can't always see the bridge that can carry you there. Life can arrange doors you would never think to open, connections you did not predict, sudden turns you could not plan. Letting go of the how means this: I know the result is mine inwardly, and I do not need to script every step that brings it into view. That is not weakness, that is deep confidence. It is the refusal to limit a larger process to your current imagination. And then comes the second release, the when. This one burns people out. How long has it been? Why not yet? Why not now? Why is it taking this much time? The mind starts measuring days, weeks, months. But every anxious question about when keeps you emotionally pocked in not yet. It keeps repeating delay. It turns time into a test. Real release says it is already true where it matters most, and the visible world will catch up in its own way. That is not passive waiting. It is steady inner rest. Then comes the deepest layer of all, and this is where everything starts to shift for real. You release the need, not the desire, the need. There is a difference. When you need the outer result in order to feel whole, worthy, secure, chosen, or finally okay, you place your peace outside yourself. You silently say, I cannot settle until this shows up. I cannot breathe until this changes. I cannot feel complete until the world confirms it. And that state is pure lack. It is the loudest declaration that the thing is still missing. But letting go of the need means you begin to feel the inner truth of your desire now. You let the state itself feed you. If you desire love, you enter the feeling of being loved now. If you desire wealth, you enter the feeling of being supported now. If you desire success, you enter the feeling of being already established now. This does not make the physical result meaningless. Of course, the visible form matters. Of course, you will welcome it. Of course, it will feel wonderful when it arrives. But it stops being a rescue mission. It stops being the one thing standing between you and peace. That is detachment in its real form. Not coldness, not distance, not dead emotion. It is full-hearted desire without dependence. You still care. You just are no longer begging the outer world to tell you who you are. And when that settles in, even a little something powerful happens. The inner pressure drops. The frantic pulse slows. You begin to feel a quiet certainty that is much stronger than dramatic hope. That quiet certainty is the state you want, not nervous optimism, not forced positivity, not repeated words said through clenched teeth. Quiet certainty, peaceful knowing, the kind of knowing that does not need to announce itself every 5 minutes because it is not trying to convince anyone, not even you. It simply rests, and from that state, manifestation becomes far less exhausting. Why? Because you are no longer trying to create from emptiness. You are living from possession. So here is a simple, practical rhythm. First, establish the assumption clearly. Know what you are keeping. You are not letting go of the desire. You are not letting go of the fulfilled state. You are not dropping the truth inwardly. You are dropping the over-effort, the checking, the restless reaching. Tell yourself with honesty, I have this in consciousness. It is done inwardly. I am not chasing a maybe, I am standing in a fact. Let that become your foundation. Then remember, the work is already completed on the unseen level. The seed is planted. You do not plant a seed and scream at the ground all day. You do not dig it up every morning to check whether it has started. You trust the process hidden under the soil. That same principle applies here. Once the inner impression is made, the pressure is no longer to force movement. The pressure is gone. Now the invitation is to remain faithful without agitation. Stay with that, because this is the turning point most people skip. They plant, then panic, they assume, then interfere. They impress, then obsess. And then they wonder why the whole thing feels heavy. Now begin releasing the timeline with real relief, not fake spiritual language. Say inwardly, I do not need to know when. I do not need to solve the calendar. I do not need to count the days like a prisoner making marks on a wall. If it is already true within, then time is not my enemy. It is simply part of the unfolding. That one move alone can save you from so much mental exhaustion. Then release the pathway as well. I do not need to know how this arranges itself. I do not need to force every conversation, every meeting, every chance event into position. My job is not to engineer miracles. My job is to remain in the state. Let that land. Because many people are not tired from desire itself. They are tired from micromanaging. They are tired from trying to hold the whole bridge in their own mind. And then comes the heart of the practice. Find satisfaction in the inner state before the outer world changes. This is big. If you can feel the reality of being loved before the relationship is visible, you are changing. If you can feel the dignity of being secure before the money arrives, you are changing. If you can feel the ease of being chosen, respected, healed, free, successful, before the evidence stands in front of you, you are changing. This does not mean pretending, it means inhabiting. It means allowing consciousness itself to become your first proof. The visible result then becomes confirmation, not permission. Not the first moment you are allowed to relax, but the outer echo of a calm you already entered. That is why this works differently. You are no longer waiting to live. You are living from it now. A very clear test of whether you are actually letting go is simple. Can you live your day? Can you work, laugh, eat, answer messages, handle normal tasks, enjoy small moments, and stay present without being dragged back every few minutes into anxious checking? If not, then the grip is still tight. But if you can return to your life, really return to it, while still holding the inner knowing, then you are moving into the right state. This is not laziness. This is not forgetting. This is not losing focus. This is living like someone who already has. Think about that. A person who truly possesses something does not spend all day proving it to themselves. They do not constantly touch it to make sure it is still there. They just live. That is why a rested mind is often more powerful than an overworked one. Once the inner act is done, a season of rest should follow, not because nothing matters, but because the deeper movement is already in motion. You plant, then you trust. You assume, then you rest. You return to your life not as someone who has failed, but as someone who has finished the essential part. And yes, ordinary doubts may still rise. Old habits may still knock on the door. That is normal. But when they come, you do not need drama. Just notice them and return. It is done. I do not need to check. It is done. I do not need to chase. It is done. Then move back into your day again and again if needed. Quietly, cleanly, no battle, no performance. This repeated return builds a new baseline inside you. But be careful here, because another confusion can appear. Detachment is not indifference. Those are not the same. Indifference feels flat. The desire goes cold. You think about it and feel almost nothing, not because you're fulfilled, but because you're tired, disappointed, or emotionally shut down. That is not healthy release. That is quiet defeat. Real detachment still has warmth in it. The desire is still alive. It still matters. You can still feel the sweetness of the sweet with it, the reality of it, the joy of it. But there is no desperate reach attached to that feeling. There is no hidden sentence saying, if this does not happen soon, I fall apart. That sentence is gone. So try this inward test. Think of your desire for a moment. What do you feel? If you feel panic, the grip is still there. If you feel emptiness, you may have drifted into giving up. But if you feel a calm, a softness, a quiet sense of yes, then you are much closer to true release. That feeling matters, because the state of having is not dead. It is not detached in the cold sense. It is settled. It is alive without strain. It is confident without noise. It has emotional truth in it. This is why people sometimes get manifestation wrong. They think they must become distant from what they want. No, you do not become distant from the desire. You become distant from fear. You stop feeding the version of you that thinks peace must wait. And the moment peace stops waiting, the whole process starts to feel different. Lighter, cleaner, less theatrical, more real, more natural, more like something already decided. Imagine someone who wants a relationship so badly that every part of the day bends around it. They check a profile again, then one more time. They replay one sentence from a past conversation. They search for hidden signs in every silence. They go to sleep thinking about it and wake up measuring the distance again. On the surface, they say they are believing, but underneath, they are frightened. They are trying to force reassurance out of the world, and that inner fear keeps repeating the state of not having. Now imagine the shift. That same person finally says, enough. Not enough wanting, enough grasping, enough checking, enough trying to squeeze proof out of the day. They settle into one clear inner decision. I am already loved. I am already chosen. This is done inwardly. Then they do something powerful. They stop making the desire the center of every hour. They return to friends, work, music, exercise, rest, real life. Not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped doubting their inner claim every 10 minutes. This is the line you need to hear. People who truly know do not compulsively check. They may think about the desire with warmth, with gratitude, with calm anticipation, yes, but they do not live in surveillance mode. And often when that state finally becomes real, movement hapsuruisses, kakikli. Not because time was being manipulated, but because the inner contradiction has softened. The pressure is gone, the hand opens, what was slipping begins to settle. This is where many people say it suddenly happened. But inside, it was not sudden. Inside, the state changed first. The outer world simply followed. A powerful daily rhythm can train this into you until it starts feeling natural. In the morning, before the day gets loud, return to the fulfilled state. Do it early when the mind is soft. Remind yourself it is done. I have this inwardly. Let that be the first emotional note you strike, not longing, not doubt, not the old story. Then move through your day fully. Work honestly. Speak to people. Handle what is in front of you. Enjoy the good that already exists. And when your mind drifts back to the desire, do not panic about that either. Just answer it simply. Yes, it is done. I do not need to inspect it right now. Then return to the present moment. That small move, repeated many times, is stronger than endless emotional effort. Then in the evening, release again. Before sleep, loosen whatever tension returned during the day. Say inwardly, I release the how. I release the when. I release the need to see proof tonight. I rest in the certainty that what was accepted within is already real. Let your body feel that. Let your chest soften. Let the jaw unclench. Let the mind stop trying to stand guard at the door. Then fall asleep from the fulfilled state, not from fear. This matters because sleep often seals the emotional tone of the day. If you end the night in trust instead of strain, you teach your system a new way to hold desire. Over time, this rhythm becomes easier, not because you force discipline harder, but because the certainty gets cleaner. There is simply less left to wrestle with. And here is the deeper truth. The moment you can really let go is usually the moment you no longer need to force letting go at all. It becomes natural. When you truly feel that something is yours inwardly, you stop clutching at it by instinct. Think about things you already accept as part of your life. You do not spend the day proving them. You do not keep checking whether they still belong to you. You take them for granted in the healthiest sense. They are normal to you. They are integrated. That same quality of naturalness is what you are moving toward with your desire. Not fake excitement all day. Not spiritual performance. Natural possession. The state where the desire becomes inwardly ordinary in the best way. So ordinary that your nervous system stops treating it like a crisis. That is mastery, not loud mastery. Quiet mastery. The signs are easy to recognize once you know them. You stop checking constantly. Hours pass, even a full day sometimes without mental obsession. When the desire comes to mind, it does not stab, it settles. Opposite appearances do not shake you as much. You see them as echoes of old states, not final verdicts. You become more present in your actual life, more available to the moment you are in, more able to enjoy what is already here. You stop trying to control every route, every person, every hour. There is a kind of relaxed dignity that enters you. And that dignity is powerful because now you are no longer begging life for an identity. You are carrying that identity. And life responds to what you are carrying far more than to what you are loudly requesting. There is also something important to understand about setbacks because many people hear all of this and then panic the moment they feel one bad day. They think I was calm yesterday and anxious today, so I ruined it. No, a wave of fear does not erase a deeper decision unless you keep feeding it. Old habits may still speak. The mind may still reach for control. You may still have moments where you want to check, fix, force, or mentally chase the desire. That does not mean you failed. It means you are human and you are retraining a pattern. The key is what you do next. Do you build a home inside the fear or do you notice it and return? This is why gentle persistence matters. You do not need to become perfect overnight. You do not need some flawless mental record. You need direction more than perfection. When tension rises, return. When doubt speaks, return. When the old story tries to pull you into urgency, return. Return to the fulfilled state. Return to the calm. Return to the knowing that your deepest work is not frantic action, but faithful occupancy of the inner reality. And sometimes, very often actually, the moment before things shift outside can look strangely normal, even quiet. No fireworks, no trumpet sound, just a softer you, a steadier you, a less reactive you. Do not underestimate that. Inner stillness is not nothing. It is often the sign that you have finally stopped interfering with the process. So if you needed permission to stop wrestling, take it now. Not because the desire is impossible, but because fighting is no longer the way forward. So tonight, as you settle down, do something simple and strong. Claim the desire inwardly with calm authority, not with pressure, not with performance, just with clarity. It is done within me. Then release the schedule, release the route, release the need for immediate proof. Feel the relief of that. Feel the hand opening. Feel the body stop bracing. Feel the mind step back from the door and then rest. Let yourself rest like someone who is home, not someone stranded in a hallway waiting to be called in. Tomorrow, wake up and return to the same inner truth. Then live fully, presently, warmly. Let the day be a real day, not just a waiting room for one result. Hold the desire in faith, but release the strain. Keep the vision, but drop the panic. Want it fully, yes, but do not worship the clock. Love it deeply, yes, but do not make your peace depend on constant evidence. This is the paradox, and once you feel it, really feel it, it stops being a paradox at all. It becomes obvious. You do not lose your desire by letting go. You make space for it. You do not betray the dream by relaxing your grip. You honor it because trust is stronger than tension. Peace is stronger than panic. And the state of already having will always create more cleanly than the state of frightened longing. So if you have been tired, if you have been checking, if you have been trying to force certainty, let this be the moment you shift. Keep the what, release the how, release the when, release the desperate need. And then watch how much easier things feel when you stop chasing what you have already allowed yourself to hold within.